Hello, everybody, and it's lovely to see you all too. I'm exceptionally honoured today because Rugare, who is my great friend and coach, and also my spirit twin, which you can message me if you'd like to know what that actually means, has asked me to introduce him tonight and share a little bit about a personal experience of failure that I have had. So I'm so excited to be doing this, and thank you so much, Rugare. Before I get into my story, I'll just let you know a little bit about me because it will set up the context of my story of failure. So yes, my name is Karen Finch. I'm a non-practicing lawyer. I'm the CEO and founder of Legally Yours, which is Australia's leading legal marketplace that connects clients to fixed fee and value-based pricing lawyers across Australia, which essentially means legal services without the bill shock. I'm also the Vice President of the Australian Legal Tech Association. I'm a co-leader of our Women of Australian Legal Tech movement, and we've just released a report today talking about diversity in legal tech, and there's an awesome paper going around about a call to action. I'm a legal tech editor for Idea Spies, which is a positive global ideas sharing platform. I'm a passionate ambassador of the progressive law movement, and I'm a very strong supporter of the Australian startup ecosystem. So you can tell that there's a lot that I do, but I love each and every role that I'm a part of. But let me share with you my own personal experience of failure. So I actually, it's quite interesting. So my biggest failure of what I perceive to be my biggest failure has actually turned into my biggest passion, which is Legally Yours. So I'll take you back a number of years when I was studying law, and I thought that I was going to be one of those law students who was carried out of the court, as I died at 90 years old. I wanted to emancipate the world with my legal knowledge and help people all around, and really thought that that was my passion. And what I would do for the rest of my life. However, once I'd qualified, I'd done all that study and I'd qualified, and I was sitting there in the partner's law firm, ready to get work and become, a lawyer. And I began to be explained about billable units and billable hours, and how every time I thought about a client, I'd have to bill them 6 minutes, and then we'd get these 5-minute credits. And that was how I was going to be a great lawyer. I died inside, and I tried so very hard back in those early days of being a junior lawyer to really, get on board with that system and that process and to conform. But after a very short period of time, I couldn't do it anymore. I actually felt destroyed inside. Whilst I loved my clients and I loved the work that I was doing, I couldn't stand doing these billable units, and just all that was the focus on and what I was measured on. So I left the legal profession, and I left thinking I was a failure. So I would, for the next 10 years, refer to myself as, hello, my name is Karen. I'm a mum, I've got 4 kids, but I'm also a failed lawyer. And that was something that I took on board, for that whole entire 10 years. Skip forward to about the year 2015, when I was thinking about re-entering of what I was going to do with my next career move. And I ended up turning that perceived failure of the billable units and not being able to handle that system, and decided I was going to change the legal profession and get rid of it altogether. And that has started me off on this journey of Legally Yours, where, we are trying to educate the profession that there is a better way to deliver legal services, and also to educate clients that there are lawyers that will actually tell you upfront, what they're going to deliver and what the cost is. So that's just something from my perspective of how I think I dealt with that failure quite powerfully. Rugare Gomo was a huge part of making me realise about using that failure and really turning it into a powerful experience. I first came across Rugare because he signed up to be one of my Legally Yours lawyer members, and I had the great privilege of getting to know him via that way. And it was not long after, when he joined as a lawyer member, he embarked on this career of high performance business coaching and life coaching. And so I feel so incredibly lucky that not only was I able to watch him transform into this role, but also to have him as my coach. For those of you, and I assume everyone on this call knows Rugare, his energy, the way that he is and lives and breathes his mission of helping us all live a wondrous life brings so much energy into my own life. He has completely transformed not only my business and the way that we've been able to scale and really liberate and move forward, and sort of throw off the shackles of those failures that I thought about myself, but he's also transformed my personal life as well. So enough from me. over to the incredible Rugare Gomo, and I can't wait for this session to get started.
Thank you so much, Karen. It's so amazing. Karen is my spirit twin, and I also just acknowledge Karen and Legally Yours. So Legally Yours and Karen specifically helped create the Monash Leadership in Law program, where we selected 15 students from different walks of life who would not typically have opportunity, and I coached them for the entire year. And Legally Yours also provides complimentary sessions for them and networks. So it's a game changer. Nothing like that has ever been done like this before in a university where students actually get high performing coaching. So it's one of my most important program this year. I'm working with our young leaders, because some of them will become High Court judge, some of them will become Supreme Court justices, some of them will become barristers, and they will literally transform the legal landscape in Australia and around the world. So that's what we do. So for those who don't know me, my name is Rugare. Again, I'm a sex addict. What that means is that I have an intimacy disorder. Growing up in Zimbabwe, I never knew that I was gay and couldn't even think about it. And that left me with a lot of post-traumatic stress. And so as a result of not being able to discover and distinguish myself, I have post-traumatic stress syndrome. And how I escape pain has particularly with sex. And I'm so grateful that I live in a country where that could have been diagnosed, and it's a mental health condition. And I have all the resources I need to do that. Now, many of you may get triggered by that. Some of you may have had partners that have cheated on you, or people who have left you or not communicated with you, and because they may have been dealing with stuff. And sometimes people like me don't even know that they're dealing with something at all. And so my brain can be no different from that of a heroin addict, but you can't see any scars. So I don't take heroin or any drugs, but my brain literally produces the chemicals that a heroin addict would be producing. My life is a miracle. My life is a miracle. Many people like me don't even get to live because of the utter shame they live with. The feeling that they're a failure every day, not being able to live their values, thinking that there's something wrong with them, but all they have is a mental health issue, and deeply alone as a result. My life is a miracle. So why I've created today's event is because we are all dealing with a lot of things here. That's one of the things I deal with. But the thing as well is that your life is a miracle, no matter what you're dealing with. So before we get into the depth of today's session, I just want to acknowledge the usual. My mom, Rosemary, she's here again. Hi, Mom. And my sister, Rua. Hi, sis. So I get to have this life because my mom had the courage to let me go as a 16-year-old. So I haven't lived with my family for over 21 years, instead of a vision that I would have a better life than her. That takes courage. That's them. Great to see you both. And I love you very much. So other people to acknowledge, I'd like to acknowledge my clients who are here today, the Global Leaders Roundtable who are here today, the Monash University Students in Law program, our partners, Purpose Production, Legally Yours, Carol, my chief, I can't even say it, Chief Operating Officer, Sonia, our company administrator. So the many, many, many of you who are here today. So thank you very much for showing up. There's so many other places you could be, but you've rocked up today. And that's really a testament of, your life, that you're choosing to use your time to be with us today. So what is a high performance coach? So I am a high performance coach. So what I use my life really is, I exist to empower and enable you to live a wondrous life, period. I know that's might sound shocking. Some of you have never Googled, I want to live a wondrous life. How do I do that? No, not better, improved, wondrous life. And how I do that is really getting deep into your mindset. It's all about your mindset and the barriers. So today, we're going to really delve into your life and look at some of the things that stop you, because you are enough and you are limitless. If you're not relating to yourself as limitless, you've got things that you've got barriers in your life. And so today you are going to work on an aspect of your life that you've deemed you're a failure. And we're going to transform it. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'd just like to hear from some of you, like why you are here today. What had you be here today, and what are you hoping to get out of today? The more I can hear you share, the better I can tailor make this for you and deal with your real concerns rather than my concerns for you. Yes, Selena, then Nick de Pasquale.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm late. I had to get off another call, but I was like, no matter what happens, I'm going to be on that Zoom call with Rugare.
Thank you for being here.
Why am I here? It's like, it's because who you are. And I know that around you, like you're a space for me of integrity and excellence. And I don't have a specific focus right now at the beginning of the call. And I know that at the end of the call, will be like, wow, I'm so glad that I came.
Wonderful.
So that's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your generous listening of who I am and all your contribution to my life as well, Selena. Thank you. Nick de Pasquale.
Thank you. Good evening, Rugare. Good evening, everyone. Rugare is my coach. I'm a tradesman and recently sold out of a fast food charcoal chicken shop with the support of Rugare. I'm on here because the world's weird at the moment. And instead of me sitting complaining about what if and how to, I thought I'll get on and see what I might be able to discover. And I'm really excited to share whatever I have to share and to get whatever I could get. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Nick, for being here. Yeah, the world is kind of a shit show at the moment. It's in chaos. And, it's great for all of us to come together to create community and connection. I think that's really important right now. Some people are isolating themselves. And this is a time where we really do need each other to support each other. So thanks, Nick. Who else would like to share why they're here? Yes, David.
Now, can you hear me all right, Rugare?
Yes, I can.
Well done.
It's been such a long time. Great to see
only
you.
about 40 years.
David met me as a child. Was it as a child? No, as a teenager.
I think you were a very young, naughty teenager in Matari. And
yes.
I was with my wife travelling, and we got to know your family and your lovely mum there. I wish I could see Rosemary.
Yes,
but
yes.
I've followed your career with intrigue and curiosity. I think I'm here out of curiosity. Oh, there you are, Rosemary. Hello.
And Dad. Hi, Dad.
Oh, Napoleon. That is really beautiful. That's why I'm here, just to say hello to Mum and Dad.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, Nancy's here in the background. I'll try and drag her in.
Right. So it's just amazing, people from all walks of life, all around the world. David has known me as a child, really, and here I am now. And David has made a huge contribution to Australian society as a doctor. He's been awarded as well awards by the government as well. And so very grateful for your service to changing and helping people around the world, David. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. How many years ago was it? How old are you now, Rugare?
I'm 36, David. 36. It's been maybe over 2 decades.
It was probably about 25 years ago, wasn't it? With Andrew Gaskell, yeah.
Yes. Thank you, David. Thank you so much for being here. Who else would like to share why they're here?
I'll share, Rugare.
Hi, Jyoti.
Just very quickly, yeah, I'm really here today because I really want to hear your story. I'm very much interested in that, and also, your authenticity actually brings me here. How can you be so courageous and authentic at the same time, and not let that fear of judgment come to you? I think, that's why I'm sort of here, and I've always appreciated your awareness of diversity and focusing actually, it takes one person to stand up, and I think you like to be that one person, and you have got that courage to stand up. So I hope you can drop something on me.
Thank you so much, Jyoti.
It's so amazing. And not only very learned, also very much aware of some of the issues with diversity, regardless whether it's gender, it's professional diversity or skills or whatever it is, cultural or whatever it is. And your awareness is amazing. And it leads not only at the ground level, but it also takes to the board level. And that's what I really appreciate.
Thank you so much. Many of us want to learn to be authentic. How many of you want to develop being authentic and more vulnerable as well? Just raise your hand. I'm always in that game myself. Some of you are also here, you've got big dreams. Yeah, that's my sister. That's Farai. It's great. Anastasia, Michelle, thanks for raising your hand. And how many of you also have dreams that you want to fulfill on, but find it difficult to fulfill on? There's something in the way. Just raise your hand as well. Great. Today we're going to explore some of the things that can be in the way of you fulfilling on your dreams as well. Thank you. One more person who would like to share why they're here. Arua, please share.
Well, I quit my job last year and I live with my parents now and I still feel like shit.
Clear. That's my sister, everybody, the other Gomo. So you quit your job, you're living with your parents, and you feel like shit. Talk about raw authenticity. And why do you feel like shit? What is it about that?
Well, I dreamt of becoming a chartered accountant since I was 16 and I was on my journey there. And then I had a mental breakdown. Oh, sorry, there's a glare. And it still is on my mind that I didn't finish. And I don't know, it's still there. Like, even though I know that I was going to get more physically and mentally ill, it's still there in my mind that I didn't actually finish because I always follow through on everything that I start.
Claire, how many of you can relate to that? It's like you have this dream, you start something, and you quit, but you know that thing.
Like that? That's
you know that if you continue that thing, it will make you sick. Then you live that thing, but you can't let it go. It's like you're still in the preoccupation of the thing you left behind, even when that thing wasn't good for you.
Yes.
How many of you relate to that? I did that in relationships. those boys who were so not good for me. You all have a version of that. Sashi, I saw your heart. I saw your heart right there. Thank you so much for sharing. So, today we really are going to really delve more into all of that. So, the theme for today is really how to deal with failure powerfully, how to produce results powerfully in your life. So that's the outcome that we actually want. So you're dealing with failure powerfully, but then, what does it mean to deal with failure powerfully? It really is about producing the results that you want in your everyday life. So let's rewind. It's storytelling time, everybody. One of my favorite times. Let's rewind 2016. How many years ago is that? Like 5 years ago or so. I came to Australia when I was 16 years old with a dream to live a better life than the one I had in Zimbabwe. For me, living in Zimbabwe showed up as very dangerous. I knew that I felt different, and to stay in Zimbabwe, there was limited opportunity. When I grew up at that time, there were only 2 universities for the entire country, the University of Zimbabwe and NUST. And so imagine, for a population of 15 million, 2 universities. Australia, population 20 million, 25 million, many universities. The competition was tight, very, very tight. So that was one of the reasons I came to Australia, out of many other reasons. One of them was that I knew I was different, but I didn't have language for it. And I felt coming to a different country, I could start discovering myself. So fast forward, I'm in Australia. I've got my law degree. I've got my permanent residency. I've got my citizenship. I've left the legal profession and I've joined a startup. I'm now working for a billionaire family, one of Australia's wealthiest families, one of the wealthiest families. And I'd grown their business to become a multi-million-dollar company. I was the director of corporate affairs and general counsel, opened up offices in the UK, the US, Mauritius, Canada. I'd negotiated deals with CEOs, vice chancellors from TAFEs and universities in Australia. I felt like I was top dog. That's how I felt about myself. If I wanted to have a meeting with the CEO of PwC nationally, that would happen in a week. I just had to mention the name of the person I worked for and the door would be wide open. So imagine being in my late 20s, Black gay man. The power was intoxicating. Black gay man who's a migrant. I am socializing in big corporate Australia. And the company I'm working for were negotiating deals with presidents, prime ministers, Nobel Prize winners all around the world. It was literally, the world is the oyster. And this is what I'd always wanted to do. Be a businessman and a decision maker, and also do international affairs. So the 2 worlds match together. It's all me. Then as I worked in this organization, I just started seeing that not everything was the way it was meant to be. There were things that were not working quite as well as I thought they should be. And this had something to do with their vision and their values, and my vision and my values. In the past, I had to do anything for power. But then I'd started this training program where I got to learn this world called integrity. And I got to see some of the things I was doing were not integrous at all. And once I saw it, I could not unsee it. I just could not unsee it. So in 2016, I decided that I was going to leave the organization and become a businessman. Now, as I'm leaving, this is my view of my life at this time. I think I know it all. In my late 20s, I think I know it all. I think I am so going to win in business. How could I not? With all the relationships I've created, not just in Australia and all around the world, I'm going to nail it. And, you know, I had been mentored on how to be an entrepreneur. That's what I thought. So in 2016, early in January, I left the company I was working for at that time and started my own consultancy. And that's when I took the stand to live from my vision and my values. Now, this was the problem. When I left, I had no clear direction with what I was doing. All I knew was that I was really good at making deals happen, really good at making deals happen. What I knew was that I was really good at networking. I was really good at bringing people together. What I knew was that people really wanted to work with me. That's what I knew. But this was the problem. The moment I decided to go out on my own, what I had never taken in consideration of was that I'm now 100% accountable for my life and everything in it. There's a big difference being an employee and working for someone else where I'm getting my monthly salary to being a business owner where I'm responsible for my income. And my income is to be used for my food, for my housing, for my family's allowance, all that. That I thought that passion alone was going to get me through. I thought being charismatic and having lots of energy would get me through. But that's what I was hearing other people would say. Oh, your energy is so great. Oh, you're charismatic. Oh, you're so definitely going to succeed. Failure was never in my horizon. How could it be? My reality at that time was that I'm going to nail this. I'm going to nail it in business. As the years went by, as the year went by, I got to see that everything about myself that didn't work showed up. Everything. I got to see that I was terrified of people. I know, standing on my own 2 feet, what then showed up for me was that I had very low self-esteem. One of the stories that showed up for me was that why would anybody want to work with me? I'm Black, I'm gay, I'm inferior. I'm Black, I'm gay, I'm inferior. I grew up in a society where white is better than Black. So this is how a day would look like for me in my business in 2016. Wake up in the morning, pump myself up, and I would have meetings lined up. I'll go from one meeting, have tea, talk to a business owner that'd be interested in me helping them grow their business. And then they'd ask for a proposal. Then I'd catch into a taxi, go to the other side of Melbourne for my next meeting, have another cup of tea, have another meeting with a business owner that want a proposal, get into a taxi, go to another meeting, and on and on and on. Then I would go back to my home, and then I would freak out by myself, freak out. I'd be like, they're now expecting a proposal, and that means that they want me to perform. And what if I'm not going to be able to perform? I literally would open my laptop and try to type out a proposal, and I couldn't. I was getting anxiety attacks in that moment. My heart would beat. Literally. This shouldn't be happening to me. I've worked in one of the top law firms. I'm a lawyer. I've worked for a billionaire family. I've run their business. What's going on? I should already have this handled. But what I never took in consideration is being an employee is very different from being a business owner. The things I need to take care of as a business owner are 100 times more than being an employee. I'm responsible for my own accounting. I'm responsible for making sure that I register my company on time or pay their dues. And I still kept my practicing certificate. So I had to do my CBD points, my continual professional development by myself and report to the legal services board. I had to maintain my own home. And I had to ensure that I was making more revenue than expenses. So this went in, day out, day in, day out. I borrowed money from an uncle of mine, $50,000 when I told him I was starting my business. He believed in me. He believed in me. And he lent me the money unsecured. When he lent me the money, I said to him, if you're lending me this money, I want you to know that you're risking your asset because this is an unsecured loan. If I fail, it will have a negative impact on you. This is Andrew Gaskell. He said, okay. He borrowed money from the bank to lend to me. He believed in me so much that he risked himself. He put himself on the line for me. Just another demonstration. So there you go, $50,000. Then I kept on getting credit cards from my bank, Westpac. I'd started off with a $5,000 credit card. And as I was going through the months, my expenses kept on piling up. So my monthly costs were around $6,000, $7,000. And by the time I'm in my third month, my real revenue is about $3,000. So I think we have a problem. My expenses are higher than the money I'm making. But in my head, I was saying, it's all going to be fine. It's just going to take time. As long as I'm passionate and charismatic, it's all going to be fine. And I was busy. I was busy going from meeting to meeting to meeting. So obviously I was working hard because obviously I was going to meeting to meeting to meeting. So my proof that I was being successful at that time was that people wanted to sit down with me to have a meeting. That was what my proof was at that point in time in my life. As the months go on, Westpac is offering me a credit card, $25,000. I'm like, that's a great idea. I'm not making enough money, but it's going to turn around. It's definitely going to turn around. I'm still getting meetings. So I just need more time. I just need more time. So I started living off. I started living off the $50,000. That's dwindling. And I started living off the $25,000 credit card. That starts dwindling. I'm still going out to restaurants, fine dining. I'm still paying for cocktails for everybody. And I was doing that because nobody can ever find out that my life isn't working. It wasn't even how I talked to myself. I had to keep up the image of that I was already successful and that I had the money just flowing easily, that I could pay for everybody's drinks and cocktails, and I still could go to the restaurants that I was dining at. But guess how I was paying that off with? My credit cards, money I had loaned. because when I went back home, when I opened my laptop to send a proposal, my heart would pound. Now, my friends would ask me, how are you going? And this is what I would say, I am great. Thank you very much. I've had 8 meetings today. Things are going really well. Thank you. And then that would end the conversation. But as the months kept on going, it became very hard for me to even smile and say, that's great, things are well. I could see this getting forced, more forced and more forced. And I'd go home, open my laptop, use the credit card to buy pork ribs and get it home delivered. I literally say that I ate all my money, literally, with pork ribs. Third wave American restaurant in Melbourne, great pork ribs. But I was still saying things were fine. And so it all came to a head. It all came crashing down where I would even look at my financial reports. I had a bookkeeper and have my bookkeeping meetings, and she'd send me the report and it would be like, in brackets, $6,000. And I was like, yeah, this is great. Somehow I've made $6,000. That's what I would say to myself. I know that I have only one client giving me $3,000, but I'm like, in my head, somehow I've made $6,000. Somehow, because of the way accountants work, I've made $6,000. For about 6 months, that's how I operated. And then I said to her, she said to me after 6 months, oh, I have concerns that you won't be able to afford to pay for my bookkeeping. But I said, but I've been making money, is what I said to her. She said, but I said, I've seen your reports. You put $6,000. And then she says, but it's in brackets. That means you've been making a loss for over 6 months. When I thought I was making money, I was losing money. What's 6 times 6? $36,000. All of that, paying for bills over credit card, using the loan I had, head in my sand, not knowing my figures, not knowing my numbers. But for myself, I could not face that I could be failing. That was not an option for me to deal with. I could not face it. After all, my mom and my dad had let me go to come to Australia. I'm finally free. The thought of failing was like I failed my entire family and my community. The sacrifices that have been made for me to have the life I have, that's not an option for me. But I wasn't dealing with reality. I was in deep denial. And it all came crashing down in a month where I couldn't pay for my rent. I couldn't pay my credit card bills, the minimum repayments. I couldn't pay for my sister's school fees at her university at all. It all came crashing down. And I was terrified out of my wits. I felt like an utter loser. And it kind of, for me, was like, you know, here we go. A Black guy, a migrant, has failed. I literally have let down all Black people, is how I felt in that moment. It was like a ton of bricks over my head. And that was when I had to confront reality. I was going to be homeless. I had no money to feed myself. And nobody knew any of this. Not my family, not my friends, nobody. Because everything was fine. Everything was fine. That's what I've been communicating to people. Everything was fine. After all, I am busy going to meeting and drinking a lot of tea. That's where I got my worth from. That people still wanted to have a meeting with me, and I was still having my cups of tea. I'm going to stop there and pause there. I'm just going to check in. So of course, I've turned that around, but I just want to just hear from some of you. What are you guys hearing, and what are you relating to for yourselves and your life so far? Yes, Nick.
Rugare, I see that as a community, we're terrified of having people know that we're not coping and not succeeding. And the community I'm involved in, as a tradesman, we're all, whether it's well-being, whether it's business sense, whether it's workload, whether it's dealing with, staff, we all make out that everything's okay. Yeah, we don't tell one on ourselves like you just did. It's very, very uncommon.
Right, thank you. And would you like to tell one on yourself right now? Where does that show up for yourself in your life?
I don't see myself as a businessman, but I'm in business. I see myself as being stupid, because walking into grade prep, Mum said to the teacher, "Can you look out for Nick? Because he doesn't know English, he only knows Italian." Funnily enough, I understood that statement as someone that only knew Italian. And I went through to year 12 in private school, spent so much time avoiding English that if I had actually done English, it would have been a whole different experience. To the point where in my business, I didn't write quotes. I didn't even like writing my invoices because it was English. Yeah, so it had me see myself as being someone quite small and somewhat of a failure.
Thank you so much for your vulnerability. And thank you for sharing that with us. And how old are you?
52, young 52.
I didn't know there was an old 52, but that's fine.
And and so to add to that, I've only ever read 2 novels in my life, because I don't comprehend what I read. I'm too silly to read. It takes too long to read, and so the stories followed me on for quite a while.
And how long have you been in business for?
Since I was 21.
So you've been 21. So how many years is that? How many decades is that?
3 decades.
3 decades. So can you hear that, everybody? 3 decades in business. I'm stupid. I don't relate to myself as a business person. I've been avoiding doing my invoices and quotes because of the story I have about myself that has followed you your entire life. And what's your experience? What has been your experience of life?
Just survival, Rugare. Just surviving. And it's impacted my marriage. We separated 8 times and divorced. Impacted the relationship with my children, because I was always get home and be stroppy. Yeah, it was devastating. But on the outside, I had it all handled. I was the village idiot that was always the life of the party.
And that's very powerful. You know, it really impacted your life. Separated 8 times with the same woman, finally divorced, impacted your children. And the way you compensated for that was being the village idiot, being the funny one, being the life of the party, to cover up what was really going on. How many of you relate to that? Raise your hand. You've got your own version of that. Nice and proud. Thank you. Thank you so much for your vulnerability and sharing, Nick.
Such a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Who else would like to share? By the way, I won't necessarily ask you deep questions like the way I asked Nick. It's a safe space. Mum. Love it.
It's actually me.
And Roa.
Well, the thing is, for me, even though I started my first business when I was like 10 years old, I've always felt like a failure. It's not like everyone else where they like, oh, I've tried this and I feel like a failure. I've always felt like a failure, like regardless of the achievements that I have. So I don't know like why I have that feeling of I have failed when I have done almost everything I can. And in the process, I have this behavior of self-sabotaging to make sure it fails so that I prove that I am a failure.
Very good.
And I don't know why I do that.
I get it. So you've always felt like a failure. How many of you related that? Like you always have had this sense that there's something wrong with you. Like, you know, for Nick, it's like I'm stupid. For Rua, it's I'm a failure. And I don't know why. You actually go and prove the thing over and over again. Nick proves that he's stupid every day. And Rua is proving that she's a failure every day. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. Who else would like to share? What opened up from what I was sharing, or from what Nick or Rua shared? Who would like to share? Even those who I can't see their face, feel free to raise your hand or take yourself and mute and share. Would be delighted to interact with you. Deb. Hi, Deb. You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I guess I don't have a lot to say, but I guess I was my job was made redundant early this year, and I've been looking for work for quite a while, and I have got a job now, but it's very, very basic, very yeah, there's not a lot of skill involved. There's no challenge, there's nothing. So yeah, I guess I'm feeling a bit of a failure. Yeah, I just every time you get a no response from a job, it kind of just knocks the confidence off. Yeah,
I get it. Thank you so much for sharing with all of us. You know, every time I get a no, it just knocks the confidence out of me. Like, did you hear that? That's what it's like. It's literally Deb's life force is leaving her. That's what knocking out means. To knock out, to remove from one location and displace it to another. And that's how Deb feels. And she knows, and you know, that you're greater than that. But this is your real experience of life right now. Thank you so much for sharing. Who else would like to share? Yes, Jen. Thank you. One of our Monash-in-law leaders. Thank you.
I think when you were speaking about how like you were still going out to dinners and like buying people cocktails and stuff, it's kind of brought this idea to me about how like sometimes you compete with the people around you and you're just to keep up an image and to like maintain that idea. And I think through like my studies in law, like I have a lot of friends around me like at like Melbourne and Monash, and it's kind of like a similar thing, needing to just like show that you're kind of better than one another. You know, you won like a competition, and even though you're all kind of colleagues and you're still friends, you're also fighting to be like the best out of everyone. If that makes sense.
Yes, what you're saying is that I'm pretending that I like them and being friends with them, but I'm competing with them and I can't wait to put them down so that I win the prize.
Yeah. It's just like a competition. Yeah.
And you said it in a nice way, but well, it's called being inauthentic. It's called it's like saying you and I are like the best friends ever, but behind your back it's like, I hope you don't pass any of your subjects. I hope you fail trusts and equity, because I'm the one who's going to get the internship. But I'm your best friend, and as the best friend, I'm really got your back. That's what law school is like.
Yeah.
And you're smiling at each other, but really, you live life waiting for your back to be stabbed by your friends or the community. What's that like for you?
I think it's just like a new concept that I'm learning.
Yes.
Because like I did an undergrad of arts, and it was very like everyone was just friends, like there was no element of competition, or it's like some people might not respond to you asking questions in a group chat or something. Like it's like you have to find the right balance with some people, but then others are like so willing to help. So yeah, it's kind of been an interesting thing to like navigate, like what kind of friend does this person want to be with me, or like am I just kind of like a law school friend to them? Like like trying to assess like what other people want as well as like my own, and weighing that against like what I expect as well, I guess.
Very complicated.
Yeah.
I put that in the very complicated basket. It's, what people can count on me on is just being authentic and free. For you, you have to go through a whole process of evaluation to protect yourself from being seen as weak in the legal profession. Thank you for sharing. Remain in the inquiry.
Thanks.
One last person. Sashi. We've got 2 people now. So Sashi, you're on mute if you're talking. You're still on mute, Sashi, if you're talking. I'll come back to you, Sashi, because you're still on mute. So I'm going to go to T's iPhone, wherever T is.
It's Taffy. How are you guys?
Oh, Taffy.
It's my alias, so people don't know who it's me. I'm joking.
Welcome, Taffy. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm feeling like I'm putting other people's needs before myself, and as a result, it's affecting my mental health and my physical health. So I'm feeling exhausted and feeling a failure in putting myself first. And I'm trying to do homeschooling for a grade 2, and I'm trying to be a teacher to a kindergarten child and also look after a 6-month-old. I'm feeling overwhelmed, And as you can hear all the noise, I tried to go to a different room, but I can't even run away from this. So yeah, hopeless is probably the word.
I get it. I'm putting everybody's needs first. I'm homeschooling. You're looking after 2 kids and a 6-month-old. And it's completely impacting your life. And you feel like you're failing. It's making you sick. And you're overwhelmed. How many of you are relating to that in this whole? Just raise your hand. Got your version of that. You know, thank you so much for your vulnerability, Taffy. Thanks, Deb. Got to see that. Sashi, do you want to give it another go? I know you said it's. I'm asking to unmute you, but it's not doing. Michelle King, please share. And you're on mute. Oh, you're now off mute.
So I think I've got myself off mute. So welcome everyone. Yeah, so I'm a registered nurse. So I've always had this underlying thing that I'll fake it till I make it. So I don't get in communication when I'm struggling with stuff, and then wonder why I'm feeling like I'm a total failure at the end of the day. And you know, I'm actually sharing that with my son as he goes back into work at the moment, and it's making a huge difference for what it makes available when you realize that they say that, you know, a child is born from a village. And I'm very present to the fact that without the community around us, we actually don't achieve anything. And as a community, we can achieve so much.
Are you impacted right now, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm a bit teary.
What impacted you?
For me, it's actually being present to the fact that the community actually comes up underneath you and supports you. When in my forefront, there's like, I'm not valued, I'm not listened to, no one cares. There's that sort of conversation in my headspace. And so when people reach out and go, well, what can I do to support you or whatever, I actually get quite emotional. Because there's the underlying thing that, you know, I'm not worth being talked to or supported.
You hear that? I fake it till I make it, is what Michelle said. I fake it till I make it. I don't reach out. And then when she does reach out, she's shocked by the love that floods in. Because, but for who herself is, she's worthless. Worthless. And that's what she's living with right now. So I'm just going to pause there. Thank you so much, everybody who shared. Just raise your hand if something anybody said connected with you today. Just raise your hand. And I just want to acknowledge everybody who shared, like, wow, the depth of your vulnerability and openness. I truly appreciate it, and we all appreciate it completely. So what I want to now do is I want to move into really examining how we move from failure to high performance as a tool. But this is what what I want to first say is the first thing we all need to deal with is this conversation. It's of a failure. We need to actually deal with that, and I'm going to go through that with you. So this is mine. So identify, you're going to do this exercise for yourself. You know, we've heard people share, and I'm going to give you a moment to do that, but this is an example. So column 1, where do I say I'm a failure? Be specific. And then column 2, why do I say I'm a failure in this area? And then column 3, how does this failure impact my life? Add a 4th column as well, but we're going to come to that way later. So an example from my story, identify the area. I can't be a successful businessman. That's being my specific failure. I just can't be a successful businessman. And then in my column 2, where I say, why do I say I'm a failure in this area? No one wants to work with a gay Black man. That's what I'm saying. No one wants to work with a gay Black man. And then how does this failure impact my life? Another way of saying impact is the consequences of this failure. I am almost homeless. I am depressed and I don't want to get out of bed. I can't support my family. And I'm filled with shame and fear, destitution. That's how it's impacting my life. Some other examples, just to give you more of it. Where do I say I'm a specific failure? This is an example. I don't exercise. Why do I say I'm a failure in this area? I procrastinate. So that's the why do you say it? How does this failure impact my life? I'm fat. I don't fit into my jeans, so I wear baggy clothes to cover up my weight. Another example, the last example, where do I say I'm a failure? I don't get up when my alarm rings. Why do I say I'm a failure in this area? I'm lazy. Then how does this failure impact my life? I'm always running late and I don't feel good inside. So now it's going to be your turn and you're going to do this exercise. And I'm going to give you about just trying to get this happening. I'm going to give you about 3 to 5 minutes reflection time, about 3 minutes reflection time. Choose an area in your life where you say you're a failure, what you say, why you say you're a failure, and the impact it's having on your life. One more minute. Okay. I'd like to take some sharing. Where do you say you're a failure? Question number one. Why do you say you're a failure in this area, and how does this impact your life? Who would like to share? Now this, great. We'll start with you. We'll start with you, Selena. Thanks.
Happy to pass. Yeah, you know, on the positive side, I was looking at the examples that you had there, and I was like, I have no problems with exercising or movement. I have no problems getting up early. And the area where I say, so the first column, whatever the question is, I don't remember it exactly. I say,
Where do you say you're a failure?
Yeah, where do you say I can't be a successful businesswoman? Why do you say you are a failure in this area? I say I don't have what it takes. Like I don't have the personality, you know, to, yeah, I just don't have the personality. When I say I don't have what it takes, I don't have the personality. And how this failure, how does this failure impact your life? Well, I keep getting, no, I keep getting all the time, but I do get some really good opportunities. And, you know, and I don't back myself. I'll back other people's businesses, and I'll support other people's businesses, but I will not give myself the same backing. So then, you know, yeah, who I am for myself is a failure in business.
Thank you for sharing. That was very, very clear.
Yeah.
Now, just for everybody who is here, don't compare your failures. There's no such thing as a good failure and a bad failure or a worse failure. It's just a failure because it leads to the same experience internally. So it's never about what the failure is. It's always about the story about the failure. Like for all human beings, it's always going to show up the same way. Who else would like to share their example? Thanks, Daniel. Ronnie.
Hey guys, I have a story about myself that I'm slow to get things done in my business. And this kind of like a constant thing that pops up. And what I actually do is I because of this, I procrastinate on the important things that are like longer.
So can I just interrupt you?
Sure.
So what's the specific failure?
Specific failure is I'm slow at getting things done. Things take longer.
Clear.
Yeah.
So just so that we're very clear on what's the specific failure. I'm slow at getting things done. Powerful. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So as a result, I kind of procrastinate because I'm slow, right? So I'm kind of disempowered about getting things done. And so say, okay, good. Thanks for bringing that.
So why do you say you are a failure in this area? Is because you procrastinate?
Yeah.
Clear. How does this failure impact your life?
This kind of failure kind of like, it basically, you know, it stops me from being able to empower my leadership, my staff in my business. And it stops me from being able to get them really excited about, you know, fulfilling my vision and what we're doing as a business. So it just kind of, yeah, kind of has that impact.
Clear. Now, you know, with the impact, may I offer some coaching?
Sure, yeah.
Great. When you're looking at impact, this is for everybody, you want to make sure it's not conceptual.
Okay, I got that.
So right now, when we say, you know, it's like your team and stuff like that, it doesn't really create the impact. For me, the impact of being not a successful businessman is that I'm going to be homeless. That's the failure. The impact on my life is homeless. The impact is no cash. It's very specific and tangible impact.
Yeah, I would say my impact is I'm losing money. I'm just like, there's money going down the drain, and
Very good.
I could be out of home. Yeah.
Clear. So if you're losing money, what's the impact? What will happen to you if you keep on losing money?
I'll lose the business. I'll lose my house. I'll lose, yeah.
Very good. Can you see, everybody, how it's very different from what Daniel said previously? Like, he got present to, I'm losing money, I'll lose my business, then I'll lose my house. That's called impact.
Yeah.
What we just did, Daniel, thank you so much for allowing me to coach you, is piercing through any denial. Who's next? Thank you so much for sharing. Who else would like to share?
I can't put my hand up, but I would like to share.
That's Sashi?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Sashi. Please share.
Okay. So where I say I'm failing is actually something that I feel like I work quite intensely on. Sorry, I'm feeling vulnerable talking about this. And that is communication. So communication is one of my own personal values. And I feel, I just feel like I'm not very good at communicating clearly. And it's ironic because we had a coaching session today where we talked about communication. So why I feel like I fail in this area is there'll be times where in and out of work where I want to say things and I won't say them. I'll hold back on what I say. And how I feel like this is impacting my life is I've seen my lack of communication or how I communicate in relationships and cause inefficiencies in my life and outside of work.
Thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable. May I offer some coaching?
Sure.
Can
I make a request? Yes. I can't see your face.
You can't see my face? I can't see yours.
I'm in my PJs. So I'd like to not put my video on.
But that's fine. So I'm just going to offer some coaching. When you're looking at the impact, I want you to go deeper. What's the impact? When you talk about your relationships, what does that look like? What's actually happening in the relationships? Because right now it's conceptual. So when you don't use your voice, what happens? What's a specific relationship and what happens there?
I don't even know. I do know, obviously, but when I don't use my voice in relationships, I'm still trying to get to the bottom of this regard. But it's almost like my voice, I make my voice not matter. And it means that my needs are not met. And
very good. Yes. Continue.
Which means then, I'm panicking a little bit here.
You're doing great. You're doing great. You're using your voice.
So when my needs aren't met, it means that I don't allow, I don't know, Rugare, I get stuck. I'm getting stuck.
That's okay. You're doing great. Your needs are not being met. How many of you can relate to that when you don't use your voice, your needs are not met? Just raise your hand. It's nearly all of us. So thank you so much, Sashi. Sit with that. Now, as you're noticing, just to create it with all of you, can you see how, so far, when we're looking at impact, it's not conceptual. We're really looking in people's lives. What is it? What's happening in your relationship? What's happening at home? What's happening at work? It's very specific impact. So the practice, this is a practice, is to keep on looking. What is the impact of this failure? When you say this is a failure, what's the real impact? Your lives are real, they're not conceptual. Conceptual means that it's more like reading a fantasy book. It's like when you're watching a movie, Lord of the Rings, you're not actually in Lord of the Rings. Some of you may think that, or sometimes I think that, but you're not. As an example. Or, you're watching a horror movie, and when you hear the music change and your heart is already racing, it's not actually happening to you. That's conceptual. Even though you're about to jump out of your seat, it's not happening to you. You want to deal with, like, if a fire is in your home, you run out of your home. As an example of an impact. Some of you may actually just say, oh, is there a fire in my home? You wouldn't stay if there's just a fire in your home, because that's happening in reality. So you want to keep on getting present to the impact. You're all doing great. This is new. This is not how we operate in life. So I want to then go into what the world of failure is now. You've done so great. So I'm going to give you some information, and this is really important. So this is the world of failure. This is how we as human beings relate to failure. Number one, human beings internalize the world of failure. So when we're dealing with failure, you've heard it. I am stupid. I am worthless. I am a failure. That's called, you're internalizing it. It's an I am statement. The moment you internalize something, it cuts off any possibility. Human beings, we internalize the world of failure. Number two, the impact of when you then internalize failure is then you use your life either proving you're not a failure. So you're going to like, okay, I'm not a failure. I'm not stupid. So I'm going to start a business and prove I'm not stupid. I'm going to buy a flashy car on credit card so that nobody knows that I'm worthless. The I am statement. I am worthless. You go and buy a Lamborghini so that everybody thinks you're not worthless. Buying a house in a suburb you can't afford so that nobody finds out that you're what? A failure. We internalize it. So you're either going to use your life proving you're not a failure, or then you're resigned to it. It's like, I really am stupid. Don't give me any responsibility. I really am worthless. And then we're on to the hard drugs and alcohol. What's the point of living? Look at just our suicide rates in the world. Look at the number of young children and teenagers in the psych wards in Australia today because of COVID. I've been on calls with parents this week. My 13-year-old, we've arranged for them to see a psychiatrist. It's bad. Number three, however, failure is intangible. It is an experience. Failure does not exist in the domain of reality. So what I'd like you all to do, if you can, stand up. If you can, stand up. Look around your chair. I'd like you to just check under your chair and see if failure is there. Can you just see failure or worthlessness and stupid? Can you just check up on your ceiling? Maybe it escaped and it's just lurking above you at this point in time? Is it? No. Maybe it's hiding in one of your books. Nektipa. Maybe stupid is in one of the books. It's hiding. So can anybody just share? I think maybe it's Jyoti who just raised her hand. Did you just raise your hands, Jyoti?
No, I did not.
Okay. I thought you were going to give us a big reveal. I found failure under the chair. Did anybody find?
I've been looking on.
Did anybody find failure or worthless under their chair on the ceiling? Just raise your hand if you did. Nobody? Anybody? Nope. Any takers? Anybody want to share? Nope. Okay. So, yet how come we are so obsessed with it if it's not? How come none of you found it in reality? You know, there's an agreement that there's this cup, yet all of you have really told me about your failure, like a real thing. That's because failure does exist, but not in the domain of reality. It exists in the domain of language. So you can't touch failure. Can you touch failure? No. Can you caress failure? No. Can you make love to failure? No. Yet we are all obsessed with it. But it exists. For us human beings, it exists. So imagine a pride of lions. You know, some of you have gone to a safari, or just imagine being a safari. Imagine a lion pounces on an impala and it misses the impala. Do you think the lion goes home and says, "Guess, Mom, I'm a failure. If only I'd eaten my breakfast, I would have caught the impala"? Does the lion say, "Do you know what? I'm so stupid. You know, my teacher told me that I couldn't speak what? Italian. That's why I missed the what? Impala." Failure, it does exist in the domain of language for human beings, but it doesn't exist for the rest of the entire animal kingdom. Because what human beings have is lions. Now, the reason why this is the brain, how our brains work is that our brain doesn't distinguish between the domain of reality or the intangible. It relates to both the same. So the brain relates to, if your house is on fire, to run out of the house, because that's dangerous, that's domain of reality. The brain relates to, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, in the same way. It's like, run, you better cover that up. Protect yourself right now. Protect, protect, protect yourself right now. You're in danger. What? The other law students are going to find out that you're what? Weak? You better protect yourself. What? They're going to find out you can't speak English? You better never write an invoice because they're going to see the spelling mistakes. Protect, protect, protect. How many of you have died by making a spelling mistake? Or nearly went, or have had to be admitted to hospital? Sorry, I know you're alive because you can't answer that. I failed that question. I got my key from my sister with the shock on her face. How many of you have been admitted to hospital for having a spelling mistake? None of you. But would you be admitted to hospital if you had 5-degree burns on your body? Yes. Okay, I'm doing a solo show now. Am I the one now answering? I'm asking my own questions and now answering. Okay. That's where we've gone to now. In short, the world of failure does exist, but it exists in the domain of language. So I'm going to pause. What are you guys hearing? I want to hear any earbuds. What's opening up so far? Any earbuds or openings? Great, Rua.
I just wanted clarity in terms of like when you say it exists in the domain of language, like do you mean it in like a social context? Because everyone dwells on failure because we are social beings. It's all about other people's perception of us. It's not about us most of the time. So is it basically, oh, I'm a failure because mom will think this or dad will think this?
Yes,
and
you
not
inherited
really
it.
like, oh, I am this. It's more of like what other people think.
Well, it's not what other people
Okay.
think. It's what you think. You think you're a failure. You said it.
Because of what mom and dad will think of me.
Yeah, but you're the one who's thinking that.
Okay. Okay, I get it.
I think we have the same laugh. Yes, Nick.
The drama. That drama. Yeah. It's all very, very dramatic over here.
It's very dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know this. We're not trained in this. The thing about it is that the whole world on the whole domain of failure, you inherited it. Failure, the world of failure existed before you were born. It exists in the present. It's going to exist when you die. Mm-hmm. It exists through language. It gets passed on from generation to generation. You're a good girl. You're a bad girl. Good girls cross their legs. Girls don't wear jeans. Girls wear long dresses. You're already being trained in it all from the moment you're born. Is that what happened to you, Nick? Mom said to you, you're a good girl? Is that what you're saying, Nick? Yeah, you're nodding your head furiously.
Yeah, she kept complaining that I wore too many short dresses, yes.
We all have the version of that. Good boys should be tough. If you see a weak boy, you failed.
Yes.
You've all
Fight
been
your own
trained.
battle. Yeah.
You've all been trained to fail. You've all been trained to fail. All of you, all of us, 7 billion people. It's not your fault. You inherited it through school, education, parents, church, religion, friends. I can't believe you're dating that person. Oh my God, I would never date that person. We're now going to exclude that person from my social network. Can't be seen with that person. Say what? You live in the West? What? Whatever version, whichever country you're in. What are you guys hearing about the world of failure? Or any yearbutts?
Rugare, I was going to say it's something we created. It's very much in our own mind.
Yes. It's right there all the time in your mind. Am I good enough? Do I look good? Should I wear my necklace? What will people think if I wear my necklace today? It's happening all the time. I love my necklace. Julia, who is Carol's daughter, Julia is 3 years old, made this and created the heart, and I got it yesterday. Beautiful. So what else are you guys discovering about the world of failure? How are you relating to this right now? Who else would like to share? Who has the courage to
I'll
share?
have a go.
Great, Selena.
So, I don't know, let's have a look. So failure is intangible. It is an experience. And when it's an experience, it's a very real experience.
Yes.
Like, that's how do we experience ourselves? It's through experiences, through the senses. You know, I decide what I see, what I hear, what I feel, what I touch, what I smell, you know, and what I feel. Yeah. So, you know, when I experience, when I say something and say I put a, what can I use, a specific experience. So I have, you know, I had a workshop some time ago, and I had 6 people at the workshop. That's it, you know, 6 people. And I'm just looking here, Rugare.
It's great.
Yeah, so, you know, so people ask, you know, it's all about looking good, yeah? So people ask, how many people did you have? It's like 6. And it's this sensation of, you know, so then I experience myself, yeah? Like I experience this tension in my chest. And I say that's like an embarrassment, doesn't make me look good. Or then, you know, I'll look at someone else's workshop and they had, you know, 26. So it's an experience, and it's real. That's what I would say. You say like, yes, but.
Very good.
Yeah.
Right there. What you just said there, it's an experience. So we're experiencing it. And then as a human being, we say that's real.
That's right.
Like as real as this cup. But none of you could touch it for me.
But I'll stop you there, but I can feel it.
Very good.
You ask my chest.
So does everybody feel failure in the chest? I wonder.
I feel
But it's an
it.
inquiry. By the way, this is all an inquiry. By the way, the more we can inquire, the better. The better. This is all an inquiry. The more you can see, the better. Was it Sashi? Sashi?
Yeah, I was going to say, and I feel it even in my toes.
I think we're going to make a song of this. I feel it in my chest. I feel it in my toes. I feel it all over me. My family is like, I'm disowned. Yes.
I want to say something, what Selena said, like, it got me into the psych hospital, that feeling of anxiety. And I was in the psych hospital for 2 weeks. Like, it feels real. Like I was literally having had mini strokes. It just felt so real. Yeah. So like, is it an amygdala response that your brain is telling you, oh, like there's a lion actually chasing you? When
Yes, it is an amygdala. It is an amygdala response. Your brain doesn't treat it. As I said, it's a real feeling. I'm not denying that your experience is real. All I'm saying is that the experience is not happening out here in the world. But as I said, your brain is relating to it as if it's real. The brain doesn't distinguish between real threats out there in the world and internal threats. You can all be by yourself. Some people really do kill themselves by their thoughts.
That was me.
That's possible. So I'm not saying that's not possible. I'm just distinguishing in which domain these things are. And that's really important if you're going to have power over failure. That's all I'm saying at the moment. I'm not denying anybody's experience. I'm saying that experience is real, but it's not in the domain of reality, like externally out here. Very good. Because you're saying that, I think with what Selena and you have said, and Sashi, it all clarifies things for people. How many of you got value from the conversation so far? Just raise your hand if you got value. Great, great. Oh, I love you all so much. Now, this is what failure is from a high performance standpoint. Failure is a state. So what I'm about to say is powerful, powerful, powerful. This is magic, what I'm about to say. So on your edge. Failure is a state or condition of not producing the intended outcome. Failure is a state or condition of not producing the intended outcome. Another way said is, if we look at it from here, we human beings are internalizing the world of failure. What we want to do is remove the internalization of the I am statements. I am stupid, I am worthless, I am helpless, I am not good enough, and bring it into the domain of the external. And that's how you can start altering your experience of life. I'm going to say that again. What we're doing is removing the internalization that we are automatically doing. It's happening to us. Our brain is saying, I'm helpless, I'm worthy, I'm not worthy. Don't tell anybody because they're going to find out. It's all internalized. What we want to start doing is to start externalizing what's going on internally. When we start externalizing what's going on internally, we can start bringing and shifting your experience to life. Just want to check in. What are you guys hearing so far? I want to just check to see if you're with me, because some of the things I'm saying are complex and I'll put them on the court. I'll give examples shortly. What are you hearing?
And how do you externalize?
I'm coming to that, but I want to hear what you're hearing so far. Thanks, good question.
This one. Okay, what I'm hearing is that failure starts inside. And
Right.
as long as we inside, we cannot get help. We then are the ones to actually externalize it, to put it outside, so that I start dealing with what is inside.
Did you guys hear that? Failure is inside, and it's our job to start externalizing it. You heard it. You heard it with what Deb said. Deb said that every time she gets a rejection, it's knocking her confidence. But is anybody beating up Deb right now? No. But for her, it's real. For her, it's a real experience of being knocked over. Her confidence. That's real. And she's been sitting with that. How long have you been sitting with that, Deb, for? That experience? If you want to share. Gone off camera.
Sorry, basically since February.
Yeah. That's a long time to imagine. So the experience you're having is no different from being beaten up. Remember, the brain doesn't distinguish external and internal threats. It's the same for the brain. It's the same for the brain. That's harsh, that's brutal. What you've been living with since February is brutal. Thank you for sharing. So how do we do this? So we're going to actually look at how to perform in these areas we say we're a failure. So Selena, we'll come to that. We'll come into the answer. So number one, to start externalizing, you want to be specific about the outcomes you actually want. If you look at some of the things you say are your failures, they're not specific, they're stories. So you want to start by actually looking at what outcomes do I want. I'll give you an example. I want to be a businessman that generates $10,000 a month. That's specific. I want to be a businessman is not specific. Something that's specific is measured, it's measurable in time. So you want to start being specific about the things you're doing in life. You want to shift your life from being conceptual to being really specific out here in life. Something that's specific is, for example, the outcome I want is to do this workshop within 2 hours. That's specific. If I go over 2 hours, I have failed. That I can define that. I have failed. What's the definition of failure? Failure is a state or condition of not producing the intended outcome. The intended outcome to do a workshop of 2 hours, 2 hours, 1 minute is a failure. But I'm not internalizing. I'm not going to, I'm now stupid. I'm now dumb. I am. I'm dealing with what I've externalized. Performance is solely a function of action. So if you want to transform an area in where you say you're failing, you want to act in that area. You don't want to live from your feelings in that area. Your brain may say, I'm stupid, but you still got to send that invoice. The only thing that's going to transform the idea of being a failure in that area is by sending that invoice. The I'm stupid won't transform if you don't send the invoice. It can't happen. The world of performance. Failure is a state or condition of not fulfilling the intended outcome. And number 4, there is nothing wrong with you as a human being. You are limitless. You really are limitless. And all that's happened is you've inherited all these notions of what it is to be good or bad. And you're then feeding fuel to it. And the brain is like, oh my God, that's bad. Oh my God, that's another thing that's bad. Oh my God, I can show you the 50 things, the bad things that have happened to you. What you want to start doing is getting that. That's what all your brain is doing, but really you're limitless. And to discover that, you have to interrupt coming from the internalizing of your failures. So how did I move from utter loser to freedom and joy? Number 1, to move from freedom and joy. So in that area, I decided in my life when I was like close to bankruptcy, my vision was to be free and to be an honorable man. So you have to have a vision for yourself. What's your vision? You have to have a vision for yourself other than your default thought of I'm stupid, I'm worthless, I'm a failure. You have to actually invent it. Some of you may not know how to do that. So I help people, all my clients, I spent 2 days with them actually inventing their vision. But this is an example of it, their vision and values. Number 2, what is the specific outcome you want to produce? Not a wishy-washy outcome, specific outcome. Specific outcome, not wishy-washy. Then number 3, you want to speculate the list of actions you could take from infinite possibility. So for example, when I was dealing with my financial failure, I wrote a list. What could I do? I wrote about 30 something names of people I could communicate with. You know, I could ask and borrow money. I still have my little yellow book, you know. This yellow book saved my life. There's one, a note on the 13th of October 2017 to Selena. I'm not just paying a loan, I'm transforming the area around money. Restore integrity. Promises. Make a list of actions. That's all literally what you need to start doing. Start making a list of actions. Don't let the I am statement get in the way. When you're speculating on the list of actions, you come from all actions are valid. Don't start filtering them. I can call Bill Gates and get a loan. I'm going to call the American university to find out if I can get a scholarship to go to college. All actions are valid, or it's speculating. This allows the creativity of the brain. So you're now moving away from the amygdala, which is the fight, flight, freeze mode, to creating. Number four, take one action effective immediately and acknowledge yourself for the action. You know, Deb, with your applications, you could make a list. An example is making a list of maybe I need to debrief what's going on with my applications, talking to somebody. Because if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to produce the same result. So how the list is going to interrupt and create something more possible for you outside your own thinking. What's really important is that when you start making this list, these actions are typically actions you wouldn't even want to do. They may make you want to vomit. They may make you even feel ill. They may even give you tummy cramps. It's okay. It's just your brain reacting. Number five, keep looking at the speculated list of actions on a daily basis, add to them, and take another specific action until you produce the outcome. Until you produce the outcome. So, in summary, what we've done so far today is identify the failure, story, and the impact, and then moving from failure to performance. So what I want to do is give you an opportunity to look at that area of your life and start looking at some of the specific actions you could take. What's the two things I want you to look at? What's the vision for that area for yourself and your life? And what are some specific actions you can take? What's the vision? The vision is really important because a vision starts creating a context. If your context is I'm stupid, then the actions you'll take will be inside I am stupid. If your vision is I'm free, you'll start thinking of actions that have you be free. If your context is I'm worthless and your vision is I want to be an honorable person, you'll start thinking about actions that have you be an honorable person. Now, remember, as I said, it's the thinking inside of the context that matters. I'm not saying that you'll take all the actions, but it starts opening up a different pathway for your life. So I'm going to give you maybe 1 minute or so. It's not a lot of time, but I'll do that. What is your vision for that area? And what are some possible actions? There's nothing to get perfect. So those who are perfectionists or trying to get the perfect vision, give that up, please. Okay. I'd like to take some sharing. Who would like to share? what they saw could be the vision in that area. So maybe a brief recap on the area and the vision and some possible actions. Yes, Selena.
So the area is the utilizing business opportunities. So the vision is expansion and contribution, like really get connected to, you know, the possibility for expansion and the possibility for contribution, like, you know, like, okay, that's that. And the possible action is, as I said, there's something about being around you, Rugare. You know, it's about action and action with integrity. So I'm going to send a letter to the CEO of this specific organization and say to him that I'm really keen to continue our collaboration.
Great.
Yeah.
May I offer some coaching?
Yes, please.
By when?
9 p.m. like no question, 9 p.m. Yeah.
Great. Feel free to email me or send me a text.
Yeah, not a problem. I will.
Wonderful. And then you want to
yeah.
So you go.
No, just those list of things that, you know, contribute to, you know, high performance is like also having someone to be accountable with, or yeah. So, you know, this is where coaching, you know, it gets so important, becomes so important. Someone to keep you accountable. Yeah.
So that could be also one of your actions in your vision is having a list of people to be accountable with.
Yeah.
Great. So the last part of the coaching, Selena, keep on looking at the list, have 10, 15 possible actions from that, and things will show up. If you're stuck with maybe 1 or 2 actions, you're still living in the domain of your default. I'm worthless, I'm stupid. That's what will show up. When you're in infinite possibility, there'll be lots of actions that show up. It's not wrong, but you just recognize it. You just say, shut up, worthless. It's my turn to be infinite. I was going to do that as a group, but I thought I wouldn't. Great. What else would like to share? What's your vision in that area? What's the specific area? What's your vision and what are some possible actions? Or who would like coaching to work through this with me? Yes, Farai. Thank you very much.
Hi. So I'm struggling a little bit with the vision.
Yes.
So when we were doing the failures we were talking about, my failure was I can't start my own business. And then I was saying that I don't have any confidence and I also don't know who I am and how I can present myself in being an authentic coach. And then I was also saying that the impact of that on my life is that I'm likely to stay in a job that I hate, that I will continue to lose integrity and not feel authentic, that my anxiety will continue to increase, and that my mental health will suffer, and that will affect the people around me. So in creating the vision around that thing that I was looking at as my failure, is that I really resonated with what you said about being free and having freedom. And then, but I could come up with actions, but I wasn't really sure about the vision part. Like I've written about 6 or 7 actions towards my wanting to start a business, but I don't know how to like stretch out that vision part. Does that make sense?
So, yes. So this is what there is to communicate. It sounds like you got connected to being free as a business person.
Yeah.
That's your vision. It's that simple.
Okay. That's good.
It's nothing more. So all the actions then will correlate to you being free. So as I my vision for myself and my life is a wondrous life. wondrous life. It's simple. Nothing more.
Okay.
You want to be free?
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Now,
Well, I'm
Farai,
glad to, yeah.
take an action. Take an action tonight.
Yeah.
Take an action after this call.
Yeah.
Email me what you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to. It's just, I found this really inspiring, and I wasn't really sure what I was coming for. So yeah, I think that's the only thing I could really take from all of this, was that I want freedom. And I hadn't had that thought prior to this. So yeah.
Powerful, powerful,
Thank
powerful.
you.
It's 8 p.m. So I just want to say to people, thank you so much for being here. If you need to go, please go. It's 8 p.m. in Australia. And I just thank you for your generous listening. I'm just going to stay back for another 5 to 10 minutes, and just hear, how today was for you. If you want to share or ask some questions, I'm available. The whole PowerPoint presentation is going to be sent to you as well, with the process of working through this. So thank you so much for your generosity.